So last night was the largest attack of the war, the largest overnight drone and missile strike that Russia has done to date. Now I know I've said that before. It sounds like I'm crying wolf, but I'm not. They just keep increasing the number of drones and missiles that they're using to attack Ukraine with. All right, last night before I went to sleep, I posted this. I just saw this on live UA map. Cruise missiles approaching Kyiv. And I thought, this is going to be a bad night. I'd already seen some good news that would have been the headline, but for this. Okay, so what happened? There were 823 missiles and drones last night. It was just astounding. Last one, the highest was 700 and something, and this is 823. Another difficult night for Ukraine, and you can see where the drones are coming from on this map and where they were going. Kyiv was one of the greater targets, Odessa another one, and some other major cities around the country. But they're even coming from Belarus. Yeah. Several Shahed drones were launched from the direction of Belarus last night. Russians continue to calculate new routes, sometimes cutting across foreign airspace. This is not the first case of drones or missiles violating borders, according to the Ukrainian Army's or Air Force spokesperson. 32-year-old woman and her a 32-year-old woman and her baby, just 2 months old, were killed in this Russian strike in Kyiv. Invariably, the Russians, when they strike these civilian targets, disproportionately strike women and children. Now, I want you to hear that because we talk about, there's civilian casualties. No, it's women and children disproportionately. Here's some images of the strike. This is in Kyiv. This is the aftermath of the strike in Kyiv. Russia's targets homes, bridge, civilian buildings, 9 oblasts. And this is look at some of the damage here, right? Yeah. What did these buildings do to them, right? And this, what you're looking at up in the right-hand corner here, you're seeing the damage. This is like the minister or parliamentarians' houses, like hitting Congress in the United States. Russia launched over 800 Shahed drones against Ukraine last night. The seat of the prime minister was hit. I don't know if that's a specific room or building or what exactly that is. Okay, here it is in Radio Free Liberty, or Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. Russian drone strikes have struck a key Ukrainian government building for the first time since Moscow's full-scale invasion began. Here it is in the actual article. The September 7 attack, Kyiv's Cabinet of Ministers building, was part of Russia's biggest aerial assault on the Ukrainian capital since February of 2022. I'm not making that up. This is the biggest. Ukrainian officials said Russia fired over 800 drones and missiles at Kyiv, a new record according to Ukrainian authorities. Cabinet of Ministers building, located in the heart of Kyiv, is home to Ukraine's cabinet and a house of officers of its ministers. Russia has previously avoided targeting government buildings in central Kyiv. For the first time, a government building was damaged by an enemy attack, including the roof and upper floors, said the Prime Minister Yulia Servenenko. We will restore the buildings, but lost lives cannot be returned. All right, here's just some images of them dropping water, trying to put the fire out on the government buildings that were hit last night in Kyiv. We will continue until it's done in service. Okay, so this said, today is not the first time that Kyiv residents have seen smoke rise over Maidan, and it will not be the last, and we'll continue until it's done in service not only to our nation, but to all humanity. This is the bleeding edge of freedom that you're looking at here. What was the reaction from the international community? Putin, quote, Putin is a coward who attacks women and children, unquote. Yeah, that's right. That's what's happening here. French President Emmanuel Macron expressed condolences. Czech Foreign Minister called Putin a coward, attacking women and children. Quote, to talk today about ending aid to Ukraine means to taking the side of the aggressor. That's right. And neutrality can't be a legitimate place here either. Ursula von der Leyen said that the Kremlin once again mocks diplomacy. Latvia stated that the Kremlin wants war, not peace. Quote, our response must be to provide more weapons to Ukraine. Donald Tusk said bluntly, the U.S. and Europe have the instruments to force Moscow to stop. The only question is, will they use them? Yeah, that's where we are today in this brutal attack, the largest of the war. All right. Now, this is some footage of the 160th Anti-Aircraft Odessa Missile Brigade shooting down Russian Shahed drones. These are rockets shooting down drones. That's all that you're seeing here. Now, every month a new record. Look at this. So the largest had been just over 700, and the combined drone and missile strikes. So I'm imagining that that's what's going on here, and this is a new record. And if you go back about a month before that, there was a new record, and it's pretty awful to see this rise like this. Okay, so what were the Ukrainians doing last night? While the Russians were attacking civilians, mostly women and children, in their homes, sleeping peacefully. Last night, the Transneft oil pipeline station, 8N, was hit again. The site is key transportation for petroleum products, hub and Belarusian refineries into Russia. Ukrainian General Staff and Commander Brovdy has confirmed the attack on this linear production dispatching station. Druzhba pipeline, also mainline pumping station and dispatch, was again targeted tonight by the 14th Regular Army. A refinery and pipeline both lit up in one night. Ukraine struck the Ilsky oil plant and the 8N pumping station on September 7th. Both facilities were targets of recent attacks. Production capacity at the Ilsky oil refinery includes 5 oil refining units with a total capacity of 6.5 million tons of oil per year. Russia claimed that drone debris caused the fires that covered only several square meters at the Ilsky refinery. Footage from the site tells a different story. So it was a legit attack. It wasn't drone debris somehow sparking a fire because someone threw a cigarette in the wrong place or that sort of thing. Ukrainian Special Operation Forces confirmed the destruction of the ELOU AT-6 unit at the Ilsky oil refinery in Krasnodar Krai. The installation, with an annual capacity of 6 million tons, handled primary oil distillation and was critical to the Russian oil production. The operation was carried out together with resistance group Black Spark. I don't know anything about Black Spark. If you do, put that in the comments below. Michael McKay just had some commentary here, and he's spot on. Ukraine would be wise to continue to strike oil refineries, pipelines, and railway hubs. It would be imprudent to use the finite supply of drones and missiles to hit symbolic targets. Now, that's exactly what the Russians do. Every day, they hit these symbolic targets or they hit the civilian population. Ukraine's taken a different approach. All right, what's going on the battlefield? 970 Russians off the battlefield day over day. That's actually a lot higher than what it has been recently. Recently, it's been down 800 and change, dipping down into 700 and change, that sort of thing. 2 tanks off the battlefields, 11 armored fighting vehicles, 42 artillery systems, 104 vehicles, and fuel tanks. Ragnar Gudmundsson's dashboard: overnight attacks largest to date with 92% intercepted by air defense. Okay, let's just do some quick math. 92%. So that's 8% that was not intercepted times 800 and change. So about 64 or something got through. I mean, roughly. Yeah, casualties in their highest 3 weeks, while engagements remain slightly below average. And cross direction, you see this. Ukrainians stopped 52 assaults. That's reasonably high. And you haven't seen this number for a while. We've seen higher numbers than that, but that's high. Ukrainian forces recently advanced near Liman, and Russian forces recently advanced near Kupiansk, Liman, Pokrovsk, and Velklohakhlivka. Okay. Recent geolocated footage indicates that Russian forces have likely advanced into northwestern Kupiansk following the Russian Ministry of Defense's efforts to, listen to this, to falsely portray limited infiltrations as enduring advances. So here, this is what's going on, and it's kind of interesting. It's a clever strategy on this part of the Russians. The ISW previously assessed that Kremlin appears to be attempting to exploit mapping methodologies used throughout the war to advance an ongoing informational effort intended to portray Russian victory in Ukraine as inevitable and push Ukraine to concede territory. Well, how are they doing that? Well, they're using the mapping features that we have by showing, oh, see, there are Russians here. Well, there's 12 of them. I mean, that's not a big thing. But there still are Russians there. It's being placed on the map. And so it looks worse than it is. That doesn't mean that that bad things weren't happening. They were. And they had to call in the 3rd Azov Brigade at a certain point because they didn't staff apparently as well as they needed to. And some Russians broke through. But it wasn't as brutal as the Russians want you to believe. Okay. 2 last things and we'll be done. Volodymyr Zelensky says this: today is the day of Ukraine's military intelligence. Every day our people do more than seems possible. Got that right. They find the enemy's weak spots and strike them. They strengthen our state and significantly weaken occupiers. Thank you for your courage and devotion to Ukraine. That's right. Finally, Darth Putin. Remember, folks, it's the West who needs to de-escalate, not Russia. And he's replying to Jeremy Corbyn, who's complaining about, hey, are we using missiles to attack inside Russia? We demand this. Yeah, okay. It's the West that needs to de-escalate. All right, my friends, that's all that I have here. Another record day, unfortunately. The big story was going to be the attack on the Ilsky oil depot. And then, well, this is what happened. Tell me what you thought about what you saw here. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.